Hey everyone, my name is Josh, and this is the Teams Recap. It is a Friday at the end of another very busy week, and just like last week, there have actually been a decent number of Skype for Business and Teams related announcements. So we're going to dive into some of those. Also, have community things that are happening as well. A new show we're going to give a shout out to, and yeah, a few client updates, things like that we're going to dive into today. So let's do that. Let's jump on over to our content. Here we go. Okay. So first up, that new show that I said we're going to give a shout out to, Pat Richard, Office Servers and Services MVP, announced over the last week that he is going to be launching a new podcast called the UCInsideTrack. He will be using this hashtag to share it on Twitter and evangelize it. His first guest for the show is going to be Jonathan McKinney, another Office Servers and Services MVP, who goes by the Twitter handle of UComsGeek. And he will be joining Pat for the first show. I am really looking forward to listening in on the show. And I talked to Pat a little bit earlier, asked him kind of what we should expect on timing. And he says within the next week, by this next Friday, so a week from now, sometime in that time period, we should see it published. So he's working on it now, and looking forward to seeing what that's like. For those of you that have been living under a rock in the UC world for the last few years, Pat was one of the hosts of the UC Architects, which recently wrapped up their regular programming after a good 5-year run. And he's now starting something new here with this podcast. So very excited to see what it comes with it, to see what kind of topics they talk about, see a little bit about what the format's like. And good luck, Pat. We're looking forward to watching the show, or I know, listening into the show. Podcast, I think, generally insinuates voice only, so I don't think it'll be video. But I should have clarified that when I was talking to Pat earlier. Anyway, tune in, stay tuned, watch for that. Follow Pat. If you're not sure, you can follow myself as well. I'm sure both of us will be tweeting about it once it's out there. Next up, another tweet that I wanted to call out. David Paulino tweeted at Greg Sheridan, another Office Servers and Services MVP, about the debugging tools problem that had existed for a while. If you were not familiar with this, pretty much any recent Skype for Business deployment that you did and then tried to install debugging tools onto, you got some nasty, ugly error. It was some sort of runtime error, I think, is what it was. But it was not cool. It just wasn't working. And the workaround ended up being to download an older version of the debugging tools that was still good. Greg Sheridan had put a great blog post out there highlighting the problem, the troubleshooting process, and a link to the older version for us. David says that this has now been fixed. The latest out there, the Skype for Business Server 2015 debugging tools, is now working properly. I haven't personally had time to fix this. Greg said he'll be updating his blog post, but as of right now, that blog post was not updated yet. I assume he's also verifying this on his own as well. So this is good news. I'm glad to hear that it's been fixed. David, thank you for sharing. And I hope that we won't have any more of that runtime error headache in front of us anymore during our troubleshooting efforts. It's already frustrating enough when you have to put debugging tools on a server, right, to troubleshoot a problem and really start analyzing the logs and the call flows and all that junk. But then when the debugging tools itself is a problem you have to troubleshoot, that's just no good. So I'm glad that they finally fixed that. All right, moving on. This was a really cool overview that I wanted to share from Vlad Katrinescu. Vlad, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the last name, but I'm pretty sure I nailed the first name. But another MVP, and he has put an overview of the new Microsoft Teams PowerShell module. So last week, toward the end of the week, right after I did my last recap, they released the first iteration of the Microsoft Teams PowerShell module. We were all very excited to see that. Now, as we go through his post here, he does a great job not just telling us about it, but walking us through using it. He shows us first we're connecting to Microsoft Teams using this connect-Microsoft Teams with credentials being input. First thing we should call out here, there is no CS in front of Microsoft Teams. It isn't connect-CS like all of our previous Skype for Business, link server commandlets have been. So this is a bit of a change for us. This is something to pay attention to. He shows you can view all of your teams using the get team commandlet. Scrolling on down, he gives us an example of, let's see, he's kind of calling into play how groups come into play with teams here. Again, really good walkthrough, going through all the available teams. Get team fun settings. He can view the guest settings, get team guest settings. I love the get team fun settings. This is pretty cool. You run get team fun settings with the group ID. You can see whether you're allowing GIFs, whether you're allowing content rating, allowing stickers and memes, allowing custom memes. So you get a lot of granular control over all the fun little aspects of teams. I think that's pretty cool. Setting the settings with set team fun settings. And then what he gives us an example of here is he's set Jiffy to false with set team fun settings. So in that team, the GIF button is gone instantly from the options, as you can see below. In his other teams, there it is, it's still visible. So, I mean, it takes effect right away. Pretty cool breakdown. Going down a little bit further, we've got set team messaging settings and the before and after results of doing that. We can edit messages. We cannot edit messages, where he has set allow user edit messages to false. So there wasn't a ton of new PowerShell commandlets released. There was a hefty little amount, but not a ton. And Vlad did a great job of walking through these, showing us very simply what their effect is and how quickly the effect takes place. Like he says, 24 PowerShell commandlets in this module. And he says this isn't an in-depth review, but you know what? It's a pretty good review that gives us a good hands-on experience. So thank you for putting this together, Vlad. Going back to the top, he does give us the link over at PowerShellGallery.com where you can go and download the module. So go ahead and get your hands on it. Notice this is not a 1.0 version. This is a .9. So we're kind of, this is a soft launch, right? Microsoft's saying we're putting it out there. Start kicking the tires. Let us know what your thoughts. Let's assess the temperature of the environment after we're done with that, and maybe we'll get a little bit more in depth during the actual 1.0 release. Tony Redmond had a good blog post out there as well, kind of calling out some of the areas where he felt this PowerShell module lacks, and that hopefully it'll be more robust for the 1.0. So there you go. Next up, last week we talked about auto attendance and call queues and some of the really cool new things you could do in GA now with auto attendance and call queues, hybrid support, a number of things. And then we also talked about stuff that was coming up in preview, holidays for your auto attendance, agent opt-in and opt-out options, and then serial routing. We called out that in that blog post last week, they were going to be in preview soon. Well, here we are. As of yesterday, we have a blog post that shows they are now in preview. One thing I do want to say, I'm trying to get clarification myself on this. Send a request out there for feedback, but I don't see a link about whether this is public preview. It does say we are pleased to announce that the updates in preview, allowing our preview program customers to set sub-minute maximum call wait times and call queues. So they're saying they're preview program customers, which to me insinuates you need to sign up for the preview. However, when I go to SkypePreview.com and go to organization, I do not see these previews as options. So I'm not sure if it's still being put on the preview site, if it's something you had to be signed up for previously, if it is a public preview that's working its way through the tenants. I'm waiting for clarification on that. At any rate, we see that these things have made their way into preview in one shape or form. All the things that are now in preview are agent opt-in and opt-out. our holidays. Here's a good view of what the holidays looks like. Right below our business hours call handling, we have a new holidays tab. He gave a really good breakdown on these holidays here. You can have up to 10 different date ranges for your holidays, and I think up to 20 holidays. Yeah, up to 20 holidays can be added. Pretty cool. Then nesting holidays. Let's say you have a big holiday period from, let's see, December 24th through January 3rd. And in general, we're saying happy holidays. Our offices are currently closed. If you work in an office that's closed for that length of time, good for you. But that's an example, right? We will reopen on January 4th. However, December 5th rolls around. The greeting changes to Merry Christmas. Then we have January 1st, and the greeting changes Happy New Year. So on January 1st, the greeting is different. On December 25th, the greeting is different. But all other days in that greater period have a general Happy Holidays greeting. So pretty cool functionality. Of course, you can use PowerShell to export your holidays to a CSV and then import that CSV elsewhere if you need to. Call queues, the agent opt-in and out. We see how we can go to editing a call queue, and there is a box down here now that says agent opt-out option. Check that if you want to use it. Now, the actual user experience, users will go to their call forwarding settings, and then at the bottom right of their call forwarding settings window, they say edit settings and online. They go to the user settings page. We've talked about this previously in terms of voicemail. And now under call queues, we've got this option to uncheck the box for the queues that you are a member of. So you can opt out if you need to. Pretty cool new pretty new feature. So again, these are preview. So it'll be great to see how they when they finally make it into GA. Serial routing, we talked a bit about that last time, but essentially, if serial routing is chosen, the queue will send the call that's at the head of the queue to the agents one by one, starting with the beginning of the agent list. If the agent dismisses or does not pick up a call, the call is going to ring the next agent on the list, and we'll try all agents one by one. There you go. That's where you set that up in your call queue. You choose serial instead of attendant. Note that both serial routing and attendant routing will skip over and not send calls to people that are offline, people whose presence is do not disturb, or people who have opted out of the queue. Finally, we can set the maximum allowed call wait time in seconds. So, how long a call can wait in the queue? We can have minutes, and then we've got seconds. We can either do 0, 15, 30, or 45 increments there. So very welcome threshold change for many people that have been managing their call queues. So, all right, that is what we've got on the preview side of things for auto attendance and call queues. Very welcome to changes, and we're glad to see them finally making their way there. I wasn't sure how long that wait would be when they said they're coming into preview soon. This is pretty quick. I can't complain about that. So good stuff. Finally, we have a few client updates. The Skype for Business 2016 client released on November 7th. We see our version number here. A number of issues are fixed. So if you're not auto updating your client and all that stuff, then maybe you want to manually trigger that process. But here are the update fixes that are included in this update. A pretty good number of them, some pretty important ones actually. One that I've seen recently, the phone number instead of contact name is displayed for an Active Directory contact in Skype for Business 2016. That with a number of other really good things to be fixed are in here. So if you're seeing any of these problems in your environment, might want to update the clients. Also, same day, Skype for Business 2015 and Link 2013 clients. We have a couple fixes in here as well. This list is slightly shorter. That same one that I mentioned, the phone number instead of contact name, that's fixed here. And then we got a few others that are handled as well in that update. So I will include the link to all this stuff in the YouTube video description. If you're having client issues, check out these links, see if the issue you're experiencing in your environment is fixed. And if it is, the download links are included on these pages as well. Feel free to browse and fix things up. All right. That's it. That's what we've got for today. It was a busy week. A lot is happening. I am very glad you all have tuned in and stuck with me through this. If you found the info helpful, useful at all, please retweet, share. I always appreciate it. I also always appreciate feedback, good feedback, brutal feedback, any kind. Just throw it back my way. Um, and that's it for today, guys. Thanks again. We will talk to you next week. Adios.